God bless everybody today. It is January 28th of 2023. This is a Daniel 8 and 10 update. There's a lot going on, so let's get it right into it. This first article indicates that Israel and U.S. are wrapping up one of the largest drills that they've ever had in history. There were 6,400 U.S. troops, 1,500 Israeli soldiers, 140 aircraft, 12 naval vessels, and artillery systems in this Juniper Oak 23 drill, and I believe it wraps up and has completed on the 27th. So we aren't going to be over there in the capacity that we've had when we had both of these groups together at this time. We've mobilized our forces. It takes months to get these types of operations prepared, ready, and all of our equipment over there. So if they remove it, that's going to cause a lot of issues with Israel as we move forward, because they're under a lot of duress as they're getting attacked by Iran and its proxies. And I'm not the only person in the room that's indicated that I thought if they were going to attack Iran, they should do it while they had everything mobilized and in position. And this Israeli ex-commander says basically they should have attacked now rather than later. And so there is a air out here that Iran is a imminent threat, and they need to be neutralized or at least reduced to a point where they can't create a nuclear weapon. And in this article from Fox News, you can see Israel has rejected these Hawk missiles to Ukraine that the U.S. has indicated they wanted. But I believe that Israel is trying to offset some of the problems with Putin and Iran by not allowing this to happen, because Russia's up in Ukraine. This would we just sent a bunch of ammunition, armaments, different things like that from a warehouse in Israel up there. So that was bad enough, and that's aiding the cause against Russia and Putin. So for Israel to reject this, I think they're trying to offset a little of this, saying, look, that's not us sending those weapons up to Ukraine. That is the U.S. doing that, even though they're stockpiled here. We're not going to approve this because we have enough issues on our doorstep right now that we don't really want to get into this conflict. And I found this article, it's a couple days old, but I believe this is the whole crux of the situation and why this is going to move so quickly. The IAEA chief has come out and says Iran has amassed enough material for several nuclear weapons. Now the question is, once they get the capacity to build a nuclear weapon, how are they going to deliver it? And in this day and age, could they put one on a drone? They have to attach them to a missile, or what other capacity would Iran be able to deliver this nuclear weapon over to Israel and potentially cause mass destruction is the key. And they know they have the capacity, and that's why the Iranian deal is falling apart and basically dead. But they have to figure out how to stop them now before they can get this attached to a delivery system, and that's going to be the most important thing here. And I just want you to realize that in Iran, there's all these protests. They're getting worse. The government's having all kinds of issues with this, and so the regime is coming out basically saying Islam is the future, and the population is saying that no, Islam necessarily isn't the future, and we want to have a regime change. And so this is just accelerating everything as we move forward also, because there's a lot of stress in the country of Iran, and through these proxies, the Kurds and the Iranian people are actually protesting this regime and how harsh it is. But they're cracking down harder and harder, and so this is just exacerbating the situation as we move forward. And Syria is a mess. Russia's in Syria. They control the Assad regime, and the terrorists are talking about escalating attacks on Syria and the Russian forces there. And so I believe you're going to see a lot of escalation in the northern province of Syria. And that's what I said. I believe that Turkey will have no choice. This will ratchet up to the point where when Turkey invades through Operation Claw Sword, they will invade not only Iraq but Syria also. And in this news article, Syrian Defense Minister states that the ties with Iran are strategic. And so they've been having meetings on how they're going to deal with all this, and realize Russia is working with Iran right now, supplying them with nuclear components, which potentially could be that delivery system for drones. And so Iran is running all these proxies around Israel, through Hamas, Hezbollah, within Palestine, Lebanon, the West Bank, Gaza, all these different areas. And so this is all interconnected. You need to understand, when we're talking about Iran, you're talking about all these proxies. And so we're not talking about when, if Iran attacks, they're not going to attack unless they're provoked on their own soil by another nation. They're going to use these proxies, and they're going to funnel money and ammunition and weapons through these proxies to do their bidding, to try to either weaken or destroy Israel over time. But once they get a delivery system for a nuclear weapon, that's a game changer, and that could escalate this into a overnight, condition to where Israel could just fall. And so they're trying to avoid this. Turkey's trying to avoid this. Israel's trying to avoid this, and the U.S. is trying to avoid this at this point. Now, we know this escalation is a problem, so we're sending Anthony Blinken over there to potentially head off some of these problems between Israel and Iran, and they're trying to figure out what to do about this. And like I said, they just had that operation over there, and how much hardware we have left over there, troops and different things like that. Maybe we'll find out in the near future, because I believe we have an attack coming up in a few days, and I'll explain that in a short period of time and as we move forward. Now, in this article, they indicate that this raid on Jenin was the deadliest attack in over a year, but I know in general that Israel's been ramping up these evictions and occupational things in the last 9 to 10 months, and so it has been a deadly year over there just in general. But we did have, I believe, 9 to 10 people, Palestinians, killed in this raid, and this has caused the terrorist group to take a 3-day pause for memory of these people that died in Jenin, and so this is going to end on the 29th because it started on the 26th. So on the 26th, and I believe this is important, on the 26th, the Palestinian president declares a 3-day mourning on the Jenin event. So the 26th to the 29th, okay, which is Sunday, that's tomorrow. So at that point, that 3-day of mourning is over, and I believe that's when we're going to see a potential attack. Shortly after that, on the 29th or after that, because Hamas and these groups are ready to go, and they're indicating that they're ready for a counterattack. And Hamas is indicating that on that same day, because they had this meeting with all these groups, these terrorist groups, on how they were going to confront Israel and respond to this Jenin incursion, and so Hamas has vowed that they are ready to respond, and they're going to have a next confrontation, but I believe they're waiting for these 3 days of mourning, and they're going to coordinate an attack on Israel. So there's a lot of side stories going on here also. Erdoğan is still threatening Greece, because that's part of that Ottoman Empire footprint, and so he's been threatening Greece for a while. He's indicated that he basically could neutralize Greece in a day if he wanted to. And so Erdoğan is on a mission, and we should be watching him and listening to him, and the world isn't. They're watching Ukraine, Russia, and all these other areas. And I've been talking about Turkey getting ready to invade, and it is winter over there just as it is here, and so he's trying to pick the best possible time to do this. I believe it's going to be quickly because his window of opportunity is closing, and he's working with Azerbaijan. They just did one of the largest military winter exercises up in that area, and they're preparing for a lot of different things. This represented 17 countries. Now realize Turkey's in NATO at this moment, but I don't know how long that's going to last as Turkey starts to move towards his ideology and not necessarily in line with what NATO wants. So after the Jenin attack, we had 2 missiles launched into Israel, southern Israel, and that was retaliated with a strike on the Gazan Strip. And so this is, like I say, this is escalating. But we have this 3-day pause on the other side for the mourning of these people on the Palestinian side, and that will end, like I say, tomorrow. So. And to go back to that Turkey-Azerbaijan story, I should have put this one probably first, but there was an attack on the embassy up there, and a security person, I believe head of security, maybe embassy security chief, was killed. And so this is causing more and more friction between Azerbaijan, Turkey, and these different groups on a potential attack on Iran and its proxies. And in this article, you can see Turkey has condemned this attack on the embassy in Azerbaijan and the killing of the security officer. And in the Palestinian areas, cities and things, they're doing a lot of demonstrations and protests over this attack on Jenin. And so this is just riling the people up more and more, and this is going to break out with an attack on Israel by potentially thousands of missiles. And like I said, I've heard reports that have indicated through fairly good resources that these terrorist groups have potentially 150,000 missiles and stockpiled that they could potentially launch against Israel. So I'm expecting not only a few missiles, but potentially thousands of missiles. And we've seen this before, so we need to watch this as it evolves. And in this article, you can tell Israel's not, they just don't get a lot of love from the UN. And so you're seeing a lot of anti-Israel bias through, and they're not hiding it through the UN. It's open and out in front, and so Israel does recognize this, and you've seen Netanyahu and a number of people like Isaac Herzog, I believe, go over there and talk about this and how the UN really doesn't work with them very well at times. And so we had this deadly day of escalation in the West Bank, but now we've had an additional attack on Jerusalem synagogue. I believe 7 people were killed or more at this point. I don't know if the reports have completely come out with exactly how many people have died. When this report came out, 7 people had been killed, and that gunmen had been neutralized or also killed. And so this is escalating. This tension's not going to go away, and Israel's going to have to deal with this as we move forward. So, and Israel isn't, even though they're provoking a lot of this, they're also being provoked on the other side. So, you have to look at both sides. I don't know the geopolitical. I'm not an expert in Israel, Iranian geopolitics. I just follow the stories, and I'm just analyzing what I'm seeing out here. But Israel is military is boosting their forces in the West Bank and many other areas as we are speaking. So this is just going to keep ramping up, and I believe these attacks are just going to continue to exacerbate the situation. We've had another attack, 2 seriously hurt, and a second Jerusalem terror shooting. A 13-year-old attacker was shot with his father, I believe, and this happened in this city. I'm not going to say these city names because I would massacre these names, but basically this is another attack, and this is just, these are all Palestinians or Islamic Jihadist radical Muslims that are doing this, and so these things are not going away. They're going to just continue until Israel pushes these people back far enough, and they're basically trying to create a better buffer zone, I believe, by doing these excavations, reoccupation, and resettlements. So that's my report for today. I'm trying to make these as short as possible. I am concerned as we move forward that at the end of this 3-day mourning period for these people in Jenin that have been killed, that we will see an escalation on the other side, and Hamas, Hezbollah, and the other Islamic Jihad groups will combine in an attack. They just had this meeting, and so they're going to coordinate this attack, but they're going to have a pause. Not only will this pause allow them to mourn for these people that have died in Jenin, it will also allow them to mobilize their forces and concentrate everything for an attack, and I believe that will happen shortly. If not on the 29th, shortly after the 29th. God bless everybody. Keep your eye on this situation. It is evolving quickly, and it is going to escalate, and it is going to cause a problem in the Middle East. And like I say, the prophecy indicates clearly that after the 24th, we started to see this major escalation, and this was a Daniel 10 prophecy. It gives us a date stamp in that chapter. I keep alluding to the 24th of January and how this would escalate after that. I actually take you back 21 days to the 3rd when this all started to actually come to a head, and then it's moved forward since then. The 24th, we saw a major escalation, and I believe as we move forward in the next few days, this is going to ramp up. This is going to ramp up to an extreme event, and Israel is going to be under major duress as they have potentially thousands of missiles raining down upon them in a coordinated attack by multiple groups of Islamic jihadists. So God bless everybody. Find that open door. Find Jesus. Time is short. We've got a long way to go in this one, and this is just getting started. So find that open door, put some oil in your lamp, and get right with God. God bless everybody. Have a great night.